What I'm really interested in is helping people understand two things. One is how to put together a plan and make it real, make it actually happen. But the other thing is to get people to understand how much we can learn from history and from historical leaders, especially our own founding fathers. So that's really what compelled me on this path. The thing I found most exhilarating about writing the book was first doing the historical research. I traveled around to many of the historical sites and to the homes of some of the 18th century framers, and I spent a lot of time in Philadelphia at the Constitutional Library there. And when I would be in Philadelphia, I would stay in this hotel that was decorated in the 18th century style. I'd wander around the historic part of Philadelphia, and I'd spend my days looking through old manuscripts. And it was a delight to kind of move into the 18th century for a while. And the other part that was exciting was talking and spending time with these marvelous leaders that I interviewed. Throughout the book, yes, we're talking about how to write a mission statement, but we reference the preamble to the U.S. Constitution as a perfect mission statement. And then we tell the story of the city manager of Portsmouth, Virginia, and how he used a 6-word mission statement to turn around that city when it was falling apart. And that's how we weave it together, and people like that. They enjoy it. If I had to choose only one chapter, that would be tough. So maybe I'll squeeze in 2. One is the chapter on mission and how mission drives daily decision-making, daily activity. Because you're constantly asking yourself, when you're getting ready to do something or make a decision, is this going to move me closer to or further from accomplishing my mission? So it gives you that focus that you need day to day. And the other chapter, I would say, is the chapter on mistakes and how real strategic leaders handle their mistakes. Because the framers of the Constitution certainly made some, and we have a whole delving into how they ended up enshrining slavery in the Constitution and the consequences of that, a monumental mistake. But we also then talked to all of our contemporary leaders and asked them about the mistakes they'd made. As one of them told me, he says, well, I've made some doozies. But it's dissecting those and how strategic leaders make a mistake. Once they realize it, they act immediately to both say, I made a mistake, and to fix it. And that really distinguishes them from a lot of other people. When I was writing the book, the person I had in front of me and thought about was the typical CEO or other executive. And I often would visualize them. Because I interviewed a number of CEOs, I had a couple of them in mind, and I kind of saw those folks sitting across the table from me as I was writing or doing my research. Because it's the leaders that I'm most focused on hearing this message. And whether they are aspiring leaders or managers, those are the folks that really need to learn how to lead in a very different way, a strategic way, and not the reactionary, firefighting way that all too many folks in those positions carry out their jobs. The book's out now, and if I could change one thing about it, it might be to figure out a way to use all of the material that I collected for the book, because I did extensive interviewing, I did extensive research, and in fact I probably will do a follow-up book that still continues with this theme of weaving together the 18th century leaders with the modern leaders, but probably looking more at how these things roll themselves out, how individual leaders influence the company and its corporate culture. because the framers of the Constitution faced many of the same crises that we face today. But the real crisis we face is not economic, it's not the foreclosures, it's not political, it's the lack of true strategic leadership. We have too many people in positions of authority who simply have no vision and don't know how to marshal the forces of their people to actually accomplish that vision. My work is primarily with companies or nonprofits or cities to help them put together a strategic plan and then spend some time helping them actually execute it. Because at the end of the day, you can have the most wonderful plan, but if you can't make it happen and you can't respond to changes that are happening around you, then the plan's not much good. And when I began to write the book, at first I thought I would just include stories from my own clients. But as I went out and interviewed other CEOs and investigated other companies, I began to learn more and more about aspects of strategic planning that I hadn't been involved in, or I hadn't really put a lot of emphasis on. In fact, this journey of writing the book became a mentoring exercise in which I was mentored by 20 wonderful executives who helped me improve my business. And now I'm helping others improve their businesses because of what I learned along the way. So my practice has, I believe, matured in a way that I hadn't anticipated because of what I've learned, not only from, of course, the contemporary leaders, but from the guys from the 18th century. I mean, I learned a lot from George Washington and his leadership style. I learned a lot from James Madison and his ability to get people together and to make things happen. So I've got a whole band of mentors that have changed my business and helped make it more successful.